at Bubba Raceway Park. We just made it out there just so we could actually just end up getting paid for the night. So we broke even. We had a really bad oil leak that was running down from the top of the motor. It was all in the firewall. There's oil everywhere. So we just went out to take the green and then pulled off. So we're going to go ahead, find out where the oil leak's coming from, fix that, do an oil change. Then we're going to have to re-square the car. It kind of got banged around a little bit from the race. So go through everything on the car, re-grease the wheel bearings, basically just go through everything. It got beat up pretty good. Not bad, we didn't roll it or nothing like that, but it did get beat up. So I'm going to go ahead and do all that now and get back with you. Alright, we got the valve cover off. Looks like the back side of the gasket was hanging below on the head. So it was allowing oil to pass through along the back side of the motor. And there's all the camshafts and everything. I'm just going to keep those covered for now. Yeah, what was happening was when I was racing, the oil was flying up to the top of the head and then leaking down here and on both sides of the cylinder head, running down the starter, pulling, then going back by the firewall. It was just running everywhere. So that's that problem. Got everything else pulled off, my air box and all that. Got to re-square the car, got all the tires off and everything, all the spindles. I believe something's bent here. And that's the left front wheel. And let's see. There's the initial hit. I don't know if you can see it. There's the initial hit, and then a groove in, and then a little extra after that. The beadlock side is fine, which is usually the one that takes the hit first. It ended up being my left side. I'm sorry, that's the initial hit there, that nick there, and then the grind in. And the rim has got a little bend to it, just a little bit. And then rear bumper bent it on the rear. So we'll have to address that too. But yeah, I'm gonna basically pull the shocks off, front and rear. We're gonna re-square the car because it moved something over. So make sure nothing's bent as far as tie rod, stuff like that. And so we have 1 week and we're back at East Bay. And for the last race of Winter Nationals, we haven't had the best of luck, but we had fun doing it. So I think right now we're sitting 13th in points. 13th out of 25, I believe. 13 out of 25, I believe. So that's not bad. First year doing it, so I'm not going to complain. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead, take the rest of all the shocks off and all that, get the tape and re-square it. Get this thing nice and straight. Alright, we got the shocks off, front shocks off. We got a square in here, level, basically. And I did put the level on the ground to make sure it was level and flat. I was over an inch out on the front end. So I had like 10, it was like 10 and a quarter over here. And then I had 9. It was like 8 and 7/8, something ridiculous like that. Like the whole front end was cocked this way. So the whole car would crab walk left, right? So now we're sitting at 10 and 5/8 on the right front, 10 and 5/8 on the left front, going to the center frame horns of the, and that's tight against their center frame horns of the chassis. So now the front end is square. And as far as rate coming out, I'm running 2 inches of offset off in the front end. So I did redo that. I was sitting about 3. I brought it back in to 2 inches of offset on the front end. And then I tightened everything up and went ahead and made sure everything was tight on the steering and all that. Don't want none of that coming apart. So I'm going to go ahead, undo this, put my shocks back up, and then we'll take a look at the rear. I'm sure the rear is going to be just as bad. But the front was worse because we got hit on the front and it kind of shifted everything over. Alright, get that tire on over there. So we got the whole axle squared up. Side to side, front to back, track bar and everything like that. Well, found a couple more issues just from the left side hit. I've got a bent tie rod end. Right, there's an actual little bend in that right bow right in the middle there. I don't know if you can see it. And my track bar has a little bow in it too. So everything that connects from the left side of the car over kind of got bent up. So I need a new track bar, and I need a new tie rod. So that's that, but I did adjust it for it being bent for right now, just to make sure everything moves and stuff like that correctly. So I'll have to go ahead and try to order another track. Well, I can't get parts for this car, this type of chassis, so everything's got to be universal, or I have to make it. So new track bar, new tie rod end, and all the radius rods are okay. All those are fine. The hub doesn't look damaged or messed up or anything like that. Shocks are back on. I believe that's it on the front end. We're all squared up, side to side, front to back. I just got to set the caster in it, and we'll be done on the front. Alright guys, so we get the front end all squared straight away, tires back on it. Okay. Rear end, re-squared the whole rear end. Okay. We actually moved the axle forward. I was lacking forward drive every time we went out. Just completely no forward drive, no forward drive. We actually moved the whole front end forward. Changed the bird cage, reclocked the bird cage 90 degrees. So it pushed everything straight, the axle straight. Adjust the Jacob slider, got in its free play position so it's not all bound up. Move some spaces around, because right now we have, at the last race when we moved the track was real loose. It could rain quite a bit, so we moved the right rear end about a half inch, and that did help for some rear bite, some forward drive. Side bite, it was okay. Coming out of the corner, going into the corner was fine. Coming out, I just had no forward drive until I put all the weight. When I straightened back out and I put all the weight on my left rear, the left rear hooked up real good and took off. So all my drive was done off my left rear these past couple races, and we chased it. So now we have everything square. Hopefully that changes it. If not, we have a couple other things we can do. I may start siping the tire, try to get a little more heat built up in the tire quicker. So now it's just a thing of got the oil there, I got to put that in the jug, change the oil on this thing, button the valve cover and everything back up on it, and put the body back on, reconnect all the wiring and stuff, and basically clean the whole chassis, clean all the dirt out, go through my pedals, nut and bolt everything, steering, and just clean everything up. And then we'll load it in the trailer, and hopefully, I don't think it's calls for rain. Usually when we go to East Bay, either rains out or the track gets so muddy, but hopefully that'll go all right, and hopefully we don't get any more damage. Kind of don't want any more damage either. So, all right, guys. Yeah, usually about every race I change the oil. So every race weekend. So we had Henry County, which we did one night there, so I didn't bother changing the oil for that because it was brand new oil. And then we had Bubba Raceway Park, which was 3 nights of racing. So it was a total of 4 nights of racing. So 4 nights of racing, I'm changing the oil on it as just preventative maintenance. The oil still looks brand new. I could probably put it in something else. The only thing I change the oil is the methanol pulls moisture into the oil, and I'll try to preserve the life of the motor a little bit longer, since we beat the heck out of these things and twist them super high. Yeah, this is all 15W40. I'll show you what I run. And I know it's not recommended for motorcycles. I know. Okay, Rotella. I either run T4 or T5, whatever's on sale. 1540 diesel oil. That motor oil that's in there now is non-synthetic. This stuff is synthetic. So we're going to try different types. And then the oil filter is a KN 303, which is basically any Yamaha. Basically just a power sports filter. I got the chrome because the chrome was cheaper. It was actually $3 cheaper than the black filter that says KN. So KN 303C. And it has a wrench. You can put a wrench on or a socket on it, tighten it up, and it also has a hole drilled in it so you can safety wire it. Common problem on these motorcycle engines, they like to vibrate loose. So there's always that. But and this filter on here now was a let's get my pliers. Was a what do you call it? A black Canyon filter. Yes, I know I shouldn't be using pliers on an oil filter. I know. It's nothing new. Crack this loose. For some reason, when the oil filter on this, I don't know if it's just location or what, but oil just tends to go everywhere. Right? So I'll loosen it even more. And this, between this oil pan, the oil pan was done by Niagara Power Sports in New York. So it's a modified oil pan. It's the stock R6 oil pans are too long, too deep, and they get caught on anything on the bottom of it. So they basically took the oil pan, cut it down, and re-welded new material. But what I can do is, you can get a mad pan or something like that. It's deeper and this and that, but like this one's a stock pan. They just relocated the oil drain, added some aluminum, welded some aluminum in, make it a little bit deeper and a little bit flatter so that way it sits flat with the frame. So if I could show it there, pretty much my pan, I've got a little aluminum pan that covers the bottom of it, and it sits on there fine, just as like an extra protection. If you wonder why there's oil all over the bottom here, there's oil all over the bottom because I had that oil leak up top. But there's oil cooler in the oil. Probably could pull this filter off now. But usually when I do that, I'll take the box, take the filter right out, take it off of here, and then I'll put it in the box. So that way I don't get oil everywhere. Then use cardboard. Cardboard helps a lot when you're doing this stuff. Anything with oil, so you don't stain your floor. And it's easier to clean up when you're done. And she's coming out now. Alright, so we have the oil all changed and everything. New filters on there. Oil, the pan's on there. Protection pan. So, what I do now is, well, I have the valve cover off. I'm just going to make sure oil's getting up top here. But usually I crank it over, let oil fill the filter, and then, because the filter mounts on the side, I can't fill it with oil. I put a little bit of oil in there and lubricate the ring. So I put it on there. I'm going to crank it over and check the level and all that. It's definitely getting oil up there, so we know the oil level's good, we know the oil pump's good. Alright, we got the valve cover back on, got all the electronics, the coals back in it. Went ahead and put the firewall back on the other side and cleaned it. Cleaned up underneath to see where all the oil and stuff was. Put the firewall back in it. The rules state your firewall, the lowest point of your firewall has to be the engine case. So, the engine case, there's two ways to define that. You have the block itself, and then you have the cylinder head. Now, either way they define that, I've got 3 or 4 inches of firewall extra on top of that. So I don't have to worry about that. And mine goes all the way forward. You're only required to have 10 inches of firewall going forward. Mine goes all the way forward to the very edge of the valve cover. So, and I've already proven it that, unfortunately, that it actually works. Same thing out back here. I raised the firewall up. I added more aluminum to it and raised it up so I couldn't get a flash burn necessarily from coming underneath the dash into the driver's compartment. So as far as firewall, I'm legal there. But everything's on the car. We got oil in it. Went ahead, pulled the filter, cleaned that out. Brake fluid and all that's good. A little explanation of what I got going on here for electronics. The wiring isn't too complicated. It looks complicated, but it's not. My battery is down there.
Okay, all my power wires and my ground wires all run up. Power in, power out. My switch connector, my chassis connector, ECM for the bike engine, Power Commander V for the tuning of it. You could also plug a laptop in there to see it. Cooler for the rectifier, I believe, right? Okay, charging system, more cabling, filter system, coils, all that, and basically my whole engine harness runs from the side, runs all the way to the back, hugs up against the engine case. Most of the electronics is on the back of the engine. So I'll grab a flashlight and we'll see. So thermostat housing, I got a 90 coming out, goes some radiator hose. Basically all my wiring is on the back side of the engine. I didn't want the outsiders, my injectors, injector connectors, but everything kind of stays kind of inside there. Everything's tucked away. There's almost no wiring on the outside here. Same thing with the coal wiring. Everything goes to the inside. I don't want nothing on the outside because of a rock or something like that can break a connector and make something come loose. So everything's double locked and stuff like that to keep everything nice and tight. Alright, we got everything mounted up on the car. Went through and cleaned it. I do have one complaint on this matte black paint. You cannot clean it. Two, our water in Florida, just when you wash something, it leaves water stains everywhere. So I have to go over it with detail. Wing came out okay. All the nice smooth panels came out okay. Tank came out okay. Just for some reason, all these panels, I mean, this one came out okay. Front one came out okay. The wing side came out okay, but like the middles and the tops and the bottoms of the wing, they didn't come out too good. But oil's changed. Everything's good on the car. The only thing left is to get some meth in the car and then go get some more and put it in the trailer, load that up, and just generally load the trailer. Something else I didn't point out, I had a huge rock during hot laps come in and cracked my sun visor. Huge rock banged off and then landed on the hood there and then bounced in. So here, I'll show you. It hit there, then it hit down there. Big old rock. But yeah, we're ready to go. I'll grind tires the day of, and we'll just get loaded up and be good to go. And there she is, the fuel. This pump I bought from Speedway Motors, and it actually works out very good. It's, you know, cheap. You know, I paid $13-14 for it, but it actually works very good for what I need it to do. And I don't need no special pump or some $300 industrial pump. I just tighten it up to where the seal goes, so it can pull a vacuum on the fuel. And then, like that's tight. Then I'll just stand here and hopefully to tighten the top up and just start pumping. So it usually takes about a minute for each can, which ain't bad. So a minute for 5 gallons. That doesn't bother me. But we'll get back here and get them both full. And then if I stop, it'll keep pouring fuel. So that works out good. And then to stop it, you undo the top, which loses the vacuum.